Welcome to the Be Forever Cool podcast. My name is Rex45. It's Wednesday night. We got Smitty in the building. We got TJ in the building and the one and only Bobby Shakes. What's going on, fellas? How you guys doing? It's a full moon out there, so tread lightly.
Tread lightly. Full moon.
I'm doing pretty good, man. Can't complain.
All right.
Can't complain out here either. Finally can wear a t-shirt like I was mentioning earlier. In New England, we up and down up here, but it's in the 80s right now, so feeling good.
Smitty, you should be feeling amazing. You have one win in the rain, and then you have another win when everybody crashed out. So you should be having a great MotoGP season.
Oh, great. There's only one win in the second place on a Honda.
Call it what you want, but my guy is still in first place. He dominated last weekend as usual. I think, matter of fact, he was the only guy ever to lead every session and win both races, ever. I'm just saying, man.
All right, guys, so that's where we're going. So what do you think, TJ? As Smitty's saying, his guy dominated the whole weekend, which is pretty impressive.
Domination.
In and of itself. And, We'll dive more into it, but what do you think, TJ, as far as what Marquez, since, some people might not know who Smitty's guy is because he's got the Honda gear on and Mark is on a Ducati.
I mean, you got to give it to Mark. You got to give it to Mark. I mean, last year, he won both races, the sprint and the GP. And if I can recall, he almost led every session. I think his brother or someone else probably took that over. But this year, he just made it look easy. Like right off the gate, you saw his 93 corner, everyone rocking red. It was just a great atmosphere for him. I think it's his home track. But he did amazing. But I want to talk about, his teammate, Pecco. So, in the sprint race, I thought it was pretty disappointing of his performance going into this weekend. I mean, he was the last Ducati on the grid, basically out of all six of them, finishing in 12th place. And I don't know, just seeing Mark shine like that and Pecco going through what he's going through, it's kind of odd. It's kind of strange. But yeah, I thought it was a good weekend overall. Even Moto 2, going down to Moto 3, and some good racing.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely a great racing overall. And we're going to dive more into Bagnaia and the sprint race and stuff like that. Shakes, what are your thoughts, man? I mean, Marquez was home. He ran away with it last year. It's a foregone conclusion that he was going to run away with it. Although in qualifying, we had three guys in the 145, so it's not like he completely obliterated, the grid. But still the fastest guy. What is it tough for you to talk about Mark Marquez?
No, I mean Mark Marquez has been the fastest guy every single weekend for the last past 1,000 weekends. But like we've been saying on the show, when is your boy Pecco going to show up? Alex looked great. Mark looks great. I think, and I'm going to stick with it. Morbidelli, my guy that I've been rooting for, couldn't pass anything. It's a lot of my guys. A lot of my guys are failing me.
Okay.
And every week it's just heartbreaking because every week it's a new Ducati rider that's failing me.
Well, I mean, not too bad. Bagnaia did finish 12th in the sprint race. Morbidelli, even though you said couldn't pass anyone, finished 4th place, and Di Giannantonio 6th place. So, TJ, you talk about Bagnaia and how rough it was. Sometimes a guy, we saw this with Quartararo when he was the only one able to ride the Yamaha for a little bit. I mean, we saw this with Acosta last year when it seems like he was the only one that could ride the KTM for a little bit. And so, the struggles of and I'll say this more because we know on Sunday he finished on the podium, so they figured something out between Saturday and Sunday. I don't know if it was a little bit of negotiation tactics on Ducati, just holding the washer away from Bagnaia on Saturday and gave it back to him on Sunday, and he had the feel back. So is it just a rider that's just kind of just struggling on a new bike? And it's just, let's not even talk about Marc Marquez. Let's just look at Bagnaia on a whole. Obviously he made it up on Sunday, and so it's really just a sprint. So is it as bad? And he has 2 DNF, but Mark, has 1 DNF, and he did get remount and get back on a bike. But Mark also had some luck in a bunch of races as well. So TJ, is that, is it just him going through tough times, or maybe there's something really wrong with the bike?
Hey, hold on. Wait, Rex. I have one thing to say before TJ. Rex, you defend Pecco like an abused wife and defend her husband.
I'm not. I haven't said anything to defend yet. I'm asking the question. He brought it up.
Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, he brought it up just a little bit ago, saying what happened to Pecco. So I'm diving into that so we can talk about it. I have yet to. There's clearly bikes that have issues, right? We saw that with Aprilia. We saw it with Honda, right? We saw it with KTM. Is that fair? So it's not. I'm not making this thing up. But at the same time, like I said, I'm not sitting here defending him at the moment because he's 93 points away from Marc Marquez. But he also had a really good Sunday. So is he on his way and the bad times are behind him, or is it just something's really wrong and he needs to see a psychiatrist?
Go ahead, TJ.
I think it's personal. I think right when he knew Mark was going to be his teammate, it just did something to him. I think we need to see the old Pecco. I'd rather see him try to get in first place and throw the bike away like he did last year and have 12 DNFs. But all the other times he was fighting in the front. He hasn't really been front running really at all. So, I mean, if there's bike issues, he's the rider that should be the one to figure it out. I mean, he came in second place 3 years ago, and then he won first place 2 years in a row. They were all new bikes. He figured it out halfway through the season or whatever, and he managed to, get his points and be a champ. I think it's more personal. I think he just needs to switch up his routine, like I've been saying for a while. I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
It's like I said, it's odd to see Mark do what he's doing, and especially the sprint. Pecco, I honestly think don't like sprints anyway.
Right. Well,
I think that's not his favorite.
And again, I got to point these things out. I mean, he was in second place in the French Grand Prix before the red flag. He's had some bad luck again. I mean, not just him, a lot of the riders. I mean, a lot of those riders in Coda that had it right. They suffered from the decisions of Marc Marquez. So there's a lot of bad luck. And even Mark said in the French Grand Prix, he said luck was on his side. Because him and his brother crashed out. So, but I'll hear from Smitty because you'll tell me how I'm defending Pecco, but you defend Honda, you defend Marquez
hold on.
Just as well.
I don't defend Honda. I just like them. There's nothing to defend with Honda. They're struggling still. I can admit that, but I still, it's a brand I like. Simple as that. But the thing about what you just said, Honda had problems, Yamaha had problems, KTM had problems. You are correct, actually. But when these companies have problems, all the bikes have problems. Not just one guy said, well, the bike has problems. So when all the Ducatis are running, for the top 10 bikes, it's 7 out of those top 10 are, Ducatis.
Not
the
true.
bike ain't got problems, man. It's the rider.
Alex Marquez struggled last year on a 23 bike. Bezzecchi struggled last year on a 23 bike. Di Giannantonio struggled as well on a 23 bike last year. And Pecco won. And Pecco won, the title on a 23 bike. So, I mean, again, let's be fair because, again, Pecco is not the only rider on the grid right? So let's all the other riders deserve the same amount of blame. But Shakes, I see you got your crash helmet on. Are you feeling evil Knievel?
No, I'm just saying. All season, you have said that this is Pecco's best season all season. Am I right? Right?
Up until his
all season.
Up until his last 2 crashes. No, I haven't said it since.
Yeah, but you said that this has been his best start ever.
Up until his last 2 crashes, they were.
This is crazy.
So
I got a helmet on because I don't want to bump my head and lose my consciousness. But I mean, come on, Fortyfive. I've been consistently saying that seat belongs to Alex. I've been consistently saying that Pecco has not shown up all season.
Right.
But you've consistently defended this guy.
He
and you can no longer do that.
He finished 3rd place on Sunday.
3rd place for Sunday, that's the second loser.
3rd loser, but it's good enough. But I'm just I get you.
Second loser.
But I get what you're saying. But again, does not show that there's an opportunity for a comeback, or is the season done? Is what you're saying, or all you guys are saying?
It's been done since Qatar, man.
Okay. Yeah, we're expecting. I think everybody on the panels is expecting better work from Pecco. Everybody here. I think everybody here has wanted a better season from him. And all he has to do is manage, which he's been managing. But as you start to manage, you're now 90 points behind. So what are you going to do? You're going to manage in a fortnight again? 93.
Yeah, 90. That's a good number.
Right. That's a good number. Well, 90. If it was 94, I round it up to 95. But since it's under the 5, I say 90. Just rounding up for math. But you're 90 points behind, 93 points behind, and you're managing these races, and you're managing. Marc Marquez has thrown the bike away all season long. When are you actually going to grab this thing by the throat? Come on, guys.
Well, again, I will go back to say, is it the bike or is it the rider? He's not the only one that's struggling. So, he got on the podium. He got on the podium on Sunday. There's people that struggle in races in the sprint races, and they figured it out on Sunday and have gotten quicker on Sunday. Bezzecchi did it in the UK and ended up winning that race. So it's just weird that other guys can have a bad Saturday, but then on Sunday do better and doesn't get the same kind of talk that you guys are giving Bagnaia.
Pecco's a 2-time world champ. We expect more.
Exactly. I need to know.
So is Quartararo, and when Marc Marquez. I'm not saying I'm not saying here. I'm not. What I'm saying is this, right? Is that Marc Marquez is when he was hurt, he had it was all fine, it was all good. And now, Pecco's having a bad season. Martin won the championship last year, so at the end of the day, it's just kind of like the media or everyone automatically said Pecco is the guy that's supposed to defend to beat Marc Marquez. But he didn't beat Martin last year. But for some reason, he's the guy that everyone else stepped back, and he was left standing there to say, okay, we're going to use him as the guy that we're going to put against Marc Marquez. But it's a 2025 bike. Everybody knows they got to figure out these bike. Marc Marquez can ride the bike really well, which is awesome and great. But at the same time, Pecco's finishing on the podium most of the times, and he's crashed out 2 times. He might have had a bad sprint, but a lot of other riders have had worse.
Yeah, but he's really not putting in. Success comes with momentum, right? You go through the regular season, you're looking good. Towards then you go to the All-Star break, you start to pick it up a little bit. As you reach the playoffs, you start to fire in all cylinders, right? I don't think Pecco has had the momentum for him to win this series. He hasn't had the momentum. He's not getting better. He's just hanging around at 3rd place all season. just hanging around.
Okay.
And he's the OG at that factory. He's the OG. So he should be winning more. And I get it that listen, man. The only reason why high school is tough is because you don't know where the bathroom is and you don't know where your classes are. And it takes a long time to figure that stuff out. That's the hardest part about high school and college. It's very hard. Where did Ducati put the water? Where's the bathrooms? What's the policy? Who's this guy? Who's that guy? He's been in the building for 2 years.
I understand
So
that.
he's the OG.
I completely
Rexy.
understand that. But when you have a new machine and you got to figure it out, and the team has to figure it out, it is a team effort. And some guys can figure it out quicker than other guys, and some guys don't figure it out at all. And so what I'm saying is, and I go back to say, hey, he got on the podium on Sunday. He had a bad Saturday, he had a better Sunday. So, and that's all I'm pointing out. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying he's going to win the championship. I'm not sitting here saying any of that. After his 2 DNFs, I already stopped saying that he's had the best season because of those DNFs. Obviously, the stats has changed. But so we'll leave it there. But let's talk about what Morbidelli has been able to do. We've been talking about this guy all season. He's a fighter, fighting with Acosta, fighting with Formaldehyde, fighting with Mark in the British Grand Prix round. It's only a matter of time, you think, before Morbidelli just starts to be a consistent guy to get on the podium.
It's a matter of time. I mean, he's one step away from doing that. So I think, I think he'll do it soon. Not this round, but probably the round after. I think he'll gradually catch and surpass Pecco, in a few races. Because the Marquez brothers going to be 1 and 2, barring any bad crashes, for the most part, in my opinion. But Frankie, he's there.
I think definitely Frankie's having an awesome year. Besides his the bonehead things that he does during like practice sessions and stuff like that cost him. But he's definitely improved. I can tell he has tire management issues, especially in the sprint. He was, I think he was running second or third, and he got overtaken by Aldeguer, I believe, to lose a podium spot. But in the GP, definitely held his own. I think he was 5th place. But I think he has a little time management issues.
Yeah, in the sprint he had the soft and I think whatchamacallit had the medium and So, but go ahead.
Well, I mean, I was saying to go back to I don't remember the actual race, but some races that he was actually leading the pack, but obviously he couldn't hold it because tire management. So I feel like once Frankie can figure that out, I mean, we're probably going to see him on the podium most of the second half of the season. I can see, hopefully, as long as if Pecco can't step up, that's what I see.
Gotcha. Well, it's not only Pecco that has to step up. I mean, you got Bezzecchi, Morbidelli. I mean, I think Acosta is trying to find his way. What are your thoughts, Shakes, on what Morbidelli's doing?
Well, this color here, the reason why we see this color, it's because it annoys our brain. Morbidelli's bike is beginning to annoy my brain. He's been my dark horse all season. He's been the guy that I've always picked as my long shot. So I believed in Morbidelli all season long. And he is yet another rider that has yet to deliver my long shot bet. I've always picked him to come in third all season. And I just can't see him closing it out the deal. And I don't see him getting faster. After this weekend, I've noticed that we were saying all season that Marquez is everybody's getting faster, but Marquez is staying the same.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not been true, right? Because he's
Well,
always
I mean, qualifying, Mark got a 145.704. His brother got a 145.964. And Morbidelli got a 145.984. So he's not far.
he's not far. He's my dark horse, but he has yet to come through on a long shot bet all season long.
Yeah. He's had, like TJ pointed out, with the riding slow and getting grid penalties because of it. I mean, like that's what's harmed him. I think he's gotten like 3 of them so far. You know what I mean? And that's really killed him because that's pushed him back, but he had the pace. And so yeah, if the bonehead moves can stop for the season and he continues to do what he did this past weekend, because finishing 4th and 5th is not too bad for a weekend on a satellite bike. So that's pretty good. So let's move on to KTM.
Hold on 1 second. But he has finished 4th and 5th the whole season.
So he's not. Racing. That's kind of how it works. You build off momentum. You know what I'm saying? There's only one person that can get first place. Everybody else has to regroup and try to do it and try to get first place the next race. So if you're finishing 4th and 5th and you're not, remember at the beginning of the season, I think it was you or somebody was saying we have to get rid of Jack Miller and all these guys were at the bottom of the grid. It's Smitty, right? So and so these guys are now moving up front. Some of them, Miller's moving up there. These guys are all moving up, so they're trying to save their jobs. This is how racing works. So you know what I mean? 4th and 5th is good. It's better than 15th and 16th. Or top 10 in motorcycle racing generally is good, unless there's 9 riders.
I mean, I guess you're right. Like a C is way better than an F.
Yes, and when you're talking about half a second too, we're not talking about 10 points or 10 seconds. You know what I'm saying? Between, that kind of thing. So it's a satellite team. So is Morbidelli getting the same thing that Marquez and Pecco is getting? Probably not. Neither is bad. And he's on a 24 bike and Di Antonio's on a 25 bike, right? So he doesn't even have the latest spec bike, but he's on a bike similar to Aldeguer and Alex Marquez. And those guys seem to be coming into their own on that 24 bike. And we don't see the same kind of struggles. Speaking of struggles, though, let's talk about KTM. All those guys qualified really good. The outcome was not like that at all because Bender crashed out and stuff. Acosta looked really good. It's the best weekend that we've seen from Acosta. Is this a change for KTM, or is it just a track where the bike just really runs well?
I don't know, but it's just good seeing Acosta finally moving up something because. For years, this guy dominated Moto2 and came in as rookie. I thought he would have did better. He did okay. He started off very good first couple of races, then he just kind of tailed off, and that tailing off has carried on to this year also. So it's good seeing him finally getting his head out of his ass and moving up a little bit. So I'm hoping that he's the next great thing to come because the kid has personality, and he can ride his ass off, So. Let's see what he got.
What are your thoughts, TJ?
I mean, yeah, they definitely qualified pretty well. And the results in the sprint and the GP, they were all over the board, usually you'll see like them spaced out like maybe 5th, 7th and 10th or something like that. But like the GP race where Brad Binder to crash out and Maverick actually finished 18th last. I think Pedro Acosta is probably the best thing they got, and the rumors that we've been hearing him trying to leave. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe this is just a track that KTM is okay at, still can't figure out. I feel like they're just in the mix. I mean, I don't know what the next move is. Hopefully they have to improve. I'm pretty disappointed saying Enea Bastianini hasn't really done much. So at all.
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, he's getting quicker. He finished 12th, but I feel you. He's struggling. I think Vinales has figured it out quicker than Bastianini. First year guys on the bike. But hopefully he'll come around because Vinales and Lane Acosta is coming around. What are your thoughts, Shakes, on KTM? I know you probably still haven't bought stock in them yet.
I mean, KTM honestly has had the power all season long. They've had the power all season long. I think that they should have had the races where Honda won. Those were races where KTM should have dominated those races. Again, Bender, every time I look around, I see gravel hitting my TV. It's I have so much dents on my, and I don't know if I'm watching this race on a 4D or a 5D TV, but if you look at my TV, there's like rock marks on the other side of my TV from Bender just sliding in the gravel all season long. Pedro Costa is supposed to be the Marquez killer. Yes, no, he's being whispered in his ears sweet nothings by the so-called GOAT, and I just don't see Acosta there. Maybe it is the bike. Maybe the beginning of the season there was a lot of negativity in the paddock with, do we have enough money to continue? Are we doomed? What's going to happen? You can see with KTM that the spirit has risen. You can see that literally with everybody when they're on the paddock, their attitude. There seems to be better chi going on with KTM. But I'm just waiting for this Pedro Costa to come take a shot at the king. Yeah. And let me tell you something. You take a shot at the king, you better hit. Because if you don't, miss. You better not miss. When you come at the king and miss, you come in a coffin.
Well, I mean, listen, if Acosta goes to Ducati, you never know what could happen. Let's talk about let's talk about Honda, because Honda Mir finished really well, 7th. He's finishing races. He's not getting DNFs. They're still kind of struggling on a straight, but Honda is making stride. I mean, I think finishing 7th for Mir is a huge look, and nobody really crashed out.
Right. I mean, it's progress. That's all I can say, really. They're still struggling a bit, but I think it just takes time and development. Losing Marquez seemed like a big blow, but from what you heard in the past, the bike was built like around him, which hampered everybody else. And when he left, that's kind of what the bike was still. It was Marquez's old bike with little tweaks. So I think little by little, week by week, they're making the bike more towards a neutral riding person, I guess, instead of Marquez. So I think it's just getting better each couple races, so slow but steady.
That doesn't seem like Marquez develops a bike.
Whoa. I'll tell you what. Whoa. Don't let him get away with that, Smitty. Don't let him get away with that. Don't let him get away with that.
His strength is riding, not developing. It's not the same. Some guys can't build the bike. He can ride it.
Jordan can't coach a team, but
and mind you,
he can play.
But guess what? His job is to race and win. He's done that. His job is not to build and develop. That's not his job. I'm sorry. So
as a factory rider, it isn't. It's part of your job.
No, it's not.
I'm just
it's
saying.
Not. That team builds the bike. You ride it.
As far as the factory team developing the bike, you hear these guys talk of it. You heard Bez talk about it when he won. Now he's a factory rider, and developing is a little bit different.
But he did for him, and it worked. just not everybody else.
All right. What are your thoughts, TJ, on what Honda's doing right now? Are they the closest rival to Ducati, or
Not yet.
I don't know if you want to say to Ducati. You see Shake's face?
Hey, Zarco had a win and on the podium, and outside of Aprilia, he's the only one. Honda is the only other bike that's been on the podium.
Well, I think Honda is doing a lot better than what they started with this year. Granted, they don't have super riders like they have Chantre, who hasn't really. He's still learning. And developing, opposed to like Joan Mir. Joan Mir is obviously doing a lot better. You take what you said. He definitely had a DNF on the sprint because of Jack Miller. So he's still having DNS, but typically not his fault lately. But he's definitely riding better. It's good to see him improving and helping Honda. But I think they're, still got a lot of work to do.
Okay. All right, Shakes. You seem like you got a lot to say. Floor is yours.
I was with Smitty. I was with him. I was just about to get into the rabbit hole with him, and then he said, "Don't develop the bike. That's not their job. They have to develop the bike. They have to develop it. That's a part because when I ride and I go around, I got to return back with the data to say, hey, this bike is doing this. Please fix it."
Okay, fair enough. Okay, tell you what. Okay, fair enough. Let me somewhat correct what I said.
Let me save you, Smitty. Go ahead.
Save.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Say what you're about to say, Smitty.
Okay, it's his job to come back with data to make the bike better. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but better for whom? Better for the whole team or for him?
It's a team sport.
It's a team sport, Smitty.
I kind of.
I tried, Smitty. I tried to save you.
Because honestly, it's not really a team sport. You are winning. You're on the bike by yourself. This ain't football and basketball where the team wins. This is like freaking you win a race.
Yeah, but who's true?
It's you. It's a. I get what you're saying
because but it kind of isn't.
When you're on when the visor goes down and you're on the track, every decision that's made on the track is yours. I get that.
To make you win, not
necessarily win, but you just
team orders comes in.
But the engineers are going to set the bike up to give you the chance to be out front.
Yes,
and you can't really do that without the engineers. So even in golf, you need a team. It may be three people, but you need a team. In tennis, you need a team, even though you're always going to need a team around you. So, you know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, as an athlete, you can't just be like, it's just me, because then your team ain't going to be strong.
Nah, I disagree because, so let's backtrack like 2 minutes. Mark goes out, he does 10 laps in practice. He don't come back thinking, well, you know what? If I change this, it'll make the bike better for everybody. I want it better for myself.
No, I mean, I get that. I get what you're saying. And Ducati's
that's
not.
What I mean.
But Ducati, they're getting information from all the riders, and then they're making an objective decision based on the feedback of all the riders, not just one rider. And so it's not Mark's job to make that decision. It's just his job to give the feedback, and hopefully he's giving the right feedback that. And again, Honda's issues is probably more culture related than it is actual engineering, right? You know what I'm saying? We've been hearing that from the writers about all the Japanese brand. It's more culture with them than actually like let's do what we need to do to make the bike go quicker. Because Rossi left Honda because. They wouldn't let them have fun on the bike or in the paddock. You know what I'm saying? So it's that. But go ahead, Shakes.
So, yeah, also, too, is right. And when we talk about Honda, historically, they've always had a really good frame. And let's get a little sidetrack here. My son played T-ball, and we had a big ceremony. And we did team pictures, and everybody got a medal to make everybody happy. And that is Honda this year. You have a crash out and a win, and you got a typhoon win. So let's give everybody, let's sit everybody up on the podium, and we're gonna give everybody a medal so you can go home and tell your mommy and daddy that you won a medal.
No,
I think we're overreaching here with the Honda. They don't have the power. They have 2 little measly wins, which shouldn't have happened.
Of course, it should have happened. That Zarco played the right cards. He played the right cards, and the outcome turned out the way it did. Can't say that, Shakes.
I mean, sometimes when I go to the casino, I put all my money on black and I hit for 10 grand. Right, but I got lucky. I got lucky. I'm lucky.
There was a little bit of luck, but there's also a little bit of planning in there.
I just chose black because I'm black.
Right. But the weather conditions in the French GP, we don't have control over, and that played a part in it. It wasn't like it was a perfect 80-degree day, right? So all I'm just saying is, and the motorcycle racing, all these things happen. I mean, even in tennis, we saw that at the French Open on the women's final, when one of the players were complaining about how much wind it was on the tennis court and stuff. These are things that you're supposed to already know at that level and prep for. So at this level, there is some luck, but at the same time, there's a lot of information.
Let me ask you a question. Where honestly do you see? To me, my honest opinion, I've expected more out of KTM this year than any other manufacturer, and I've been very vocal by saying it should be 1 through 6 every weekend.
I agree with that. I mean, I said that last year and the year before. When Miller got to that bike and that bike got a little bit quicker, I thought they were gonna be head and head. So they did a U-turn somewhere between 23 and 24, and now.
So let me ask you a question. Honestly speaking, and sometimes, who said this? Mike Dicker said he'll take luck over skill any day. Great coach for the Chicago Bears.
I can see that.
And Honda has gotten really lucky. But beside those 2 wins, where do you honestly see that manufacturer? I would say 3rd or maybe even 4th.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's not a lot of manufacturers in it, but if you want to look at the riders and where they're where they are in the standings and stuff like that, we've been saying this now since last year, because I think last year Zarco got to top 10 or something like that. Right. So I think for Honda and a lot of KTM, Honda, Aprilia, and Yamaha, if all these bikes, if these riders can rotate in the top 8, they got some really fast bikes. If they can be in the top 8. Right. And so we're seeing that, different tracks, different riders. But, Bezecchi started in 20th and finished 8th and I think 7th or whatever. You know what I mean? So for those men, I didn't think that. Again, I felt Zarco could win. He's won before. He was a front running Honda last year. He's the front runner this year. Am I going to sit here and say Zarco can win 3 more races? Nah. Right. But could he have gotten on a podium? I definitely believe that. And he did it twice. And so that's a good look for Honda. That's a good look for the team because LCR hasn't had any luck for a long time. And these guys got to show up every day in and out and all that. So for Zarco to give those guys a win, that team's going to work hard for the rest of the year, even if they don't even get on the podium again, because they just had these 2 back-to-back podiums. So that's huge. So I say all that to say, I think all the manufacturers have gotten better. I don't think they've well oiled yet because Quartararo got 3 pole positions on the Yamaha. That's something.
Yes.
Zarco has been going into Q2 regularly. That's something. So, and again, and I'm not, I want to see Ducati stay on top. But it also took Ducati a long time to get where Ducati's at right now. And so I think Honda is, I don't know who's going to be number 2 and number 3 by the end of the season. I think Honda has a good shot with Mir, what Mir is doing and what Zarco's doing. Luca's out, and I don't know how long he's going to be out for. Marini, so that's going to be tough. And like you guys mentioned, Samcat, he's still learning how to ride the bike. So it's really those 2 guys. So, and you got 3 guys with KTM that can probably change the situation. Brad, Acosta, and Vinales. So I think, and the Aprilia guys is really just Bez. So, I mean, it's hard to, and Yamaha is really Quartararo. So yeah, Honda got the best. I mean, Honda and KTM got the best shot to be number 2 manufacturers. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Because they got more riders that are being more consistent. You just got Bez. And you had Ayagura, but he's out.
Okay, I'll give you that because I think it was week 2 or 3. Honda should have got on the podium and they didn't have the power. But you're right. So let's even give Honda that win. That's 3 podiums this season. That's more than anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I think
I'm finally. I want to agree with you because you're the boss. I really want to agree with you, but
That's not
I'm
a reason.
trying to agree with you.
That's not enough of a reason. We'll just let the season play out, and we have everything recorded, so we'll see who's what the stats look like at the end of the season.
I can't wait. I can't wait for this. I can't wait for this.
So let's talk about Bez, right? Because he had I think he crashed in quali, or it might have been a yellow flag or something, and he had to come out of Q1 and just didn't happen. He started 20th in the main GP, finished 8th place in the sprint. Where is he at in the sprint? In the sprint, he finished eighth as well. So 2 8th places coming from 20th. Mark came from 13th and 12th to 3rd, and I think 2nd or something like that. Is it tough for you guys to see when you see a guy that can run and one of the few guys that can actually pass riders, right? Because there are a lot of riders that can be quick, but they only get up, positions by people crashing out. He's passing some riders to get from 20th to 8th place. What do you guys think of what he's doing?
I like I said, and I want to start. Martins, you're a bum. This bike could win. This bike could win. This bike could win. This bike could win. You're a bum. Get out of here. This bike could win. We showed you this bike could win. Didn't win. The bike won once. Another T-ball medal. We're just handing out medals. How come TJ and Smitty hasn't gotten a medal yet?
All I'm just saying is, hang on, Smitty. Before Martin signed that contract, Aprilia only won one last year, so he didn't know what he wasn't signing. But go ahead, Smitty.
Nah, listen, and I know it's old news, but Martin got like a lot of slack for leaving early, and I think we somehow get so caught up in the player or the rider being held to the contract. Oh, you sign a contract, you should stay. Like in football, if guys hold out, somehow he's the bad guy. But we never give the owners the same problems when they cut players mid contract.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, we never do. Players sign a 5-year contract and get cut 2.5 years. And no one bats an eye, but the player holds out. Oh, well, you agree.
I bat an eye. I complain about that.
Okay, fair enough. But most people do not. And
I don't.
See? And
the guy leaving, the golden rule is the guy with the gold makes all the rules.
That's not. But see, you know what? And here's why I don't like that. Because people, they always criticize sports for that same reason. And I'm kind of going off track a little bit to a whole new sport now, even though we're talking about basketball. People criticize LeBron James for bouncing from team to team to team, but all James did was put the ball in his hands and move where he wanted to. And I see no problem.
Oh, he did a little bit more than that, but
that's all he did. There's no more. That's what he did. He moved where he wanted to go.
I think. And without getting, and I've already said this about Marquez, right? And I've used LeBron as the analogy for that. It would have been cool to see Marquez stay with Honda the entirety of his career. That would have been dope for Marquez. It would have been dope for Honda. It would have been dope for LeBron to stay in Cleveland. Mike stayed in Chicago. Kobe stayed in LA. It's a different era. Ball players stopped doing that. So it used to be tradition. I mean, I think that's probably what it comes down to. It was just tradition to do these things. Now it's not. So, to Shake's point, whoever has the gold is the boss. And in LeBron's case, he had the gold at the time, so he could do that. In other times, it's the owner that has the gold. These players that can lock out and win, they got the gold. The players that lock out and don't win, don't get the goal. Look at Dennis Schroeder, right? He held out for more money and got no money. So you know what I'm saying? So it doesn't always work out.
It backfires sometimes.
Yeah, it doesn't always work out. So I think that's my beef with Mark. It's like, you should have stayed with Honda, but you don't have to, obviously.
He was killing himself trying to make the bike better.
Aleix almost killed himself to make that bike better. Dovizioso almost killed himself to make that bike better.
Yeah,
Rossi almost killed himself to make the Ducati better.
And Mark saying, rather you than me, man.
I hear that.
Hold on 1 second. Dovizioso did kill himself to make that bike better.
There you go.
Dovizioso is the oracle. The oracle of Ducati.
So
I wish I could fit into Ducati clothes and make stuff for 12-year-old men.
You know, there's stuff that you can fit in. You got. Well, I'll connect you with the big and tall section of Ducati. But yeah, man. So, but you know, I to go back to what Smitty's saying about the contract and that stuff. It's business, and you know, contracts. Without contracts, there would be no business or legal business, and you know, before it could be a handshake. But it's business. So if you have a contract and it's written in such a way that you can get out of something, and both parties sign that, that's what it is. And that's why Aprilia can't do nothing, because they have to honor the contract. It's not like he's tearing up the contract. He has a clause. You know, these guys got no trade clause in basketball and football, and they exercise it if they can't go to the right team. So that's smart. This is all on Aprilia. They wanted, I think, you know, they saw what Martin did winning that championship, and they signed without thinking. And they won't, I said this already, they won't make that mistake again. And they caused Vinales to go. Because Vinales was like, yo, you gave him the bag?
I think I would never, ever say this on stream. But I'm going to say it on stream. A human being should never, ever, ever give up a bag of money for some plaque or some trophy that they get at Goodwill. All these plaques and trophies are absolutely are worth nothing. They're worth nothing. You should always go after the money. It's like Mbappe gave up $1 billion to go and play in Real Madrid. I mean, $1 billion for what? So you could get a fake La Liga plaque. Always chase the money. But out of all the athletes in the world, I have little respect for Martins and what he did to Aprilia. He has to be the worst scoundrel,
goddamn,
athlete ever, because he hasn't done anything.
Right.
He got the bag, and it's a bloody robbery.
He don't keep all the money.
Oh, yeah. When he leave for 25, he gets all the money. If he leaves at the end of 25, then he don't get no 26 money. I don't even know. I don't even know what the contract says, because even there's people they pull off TV now and say they're fired, and coaches that say they're fired, but they still got paid. They're just not coaching.
True.
You know, so it's not. There's that's the contract is what it is. Yeah.
He's the worst
contract. Yeah. He got an NBA contract.
He's the worst.
I've also heard Martin has had bad blood like this before with other manufacturers. This is not his first rodeo. So.
Yeah, that's how he got to Ducati. He was supposed, because KTM signs you forever. So, you know what I'm saying? And he was able to get out of KTM and sign with Ducati. That's how he got to Ducati, because as you notice, Acosta, Bender, all these guys, they were on factory KTM in Moto 3, Moto 2, and they come right up in the ranks. And that's why Acosta wants to leave, because of the contract situation. They threw him up into MotoGP. Even though he was on a Moto 2 contract, they threw him up in MotoGP last year, so that way he's already in MotoGP. So Rossi couldn't get him. You know what I'm saying? Or whoever wanted to sign him when he was still in Moto 2. So I'm not sitting here saying, businesses don't think about themselves as well and shortchange riders or players and stuff like that. So I think this is one of the few. It's like, Michael Jackson or Prince, and you hear about these guys, or Nas, or some of these guys that, their contracts are they know what their worth is, and they know what they can get. And the people that want that, they sign it. And if they know your lawyer ain't looking over the contract and you just signing because you're happy to be in MotoGP, they're going to be all type of footnotes in there that you don't realize what you're giving up.
Right.
Yeah. He's Martin is the worst. he's the worst athlete in all of sports. There isn't an athlete that's been a scoundrel. His scoundrel, his whole career. Just, I get it. Money's way more important than trophies. These fake trophies. Because what happens? What does every athlete do towards the end of their career? They sell their trophies. They sell their Grammys.
Right.
They sell everything because Grammys and trophies and all that stuff is garbage. It's worth nothing.
Right. I think
but he's still a scoundrel.
Yeah, the downside for Martin is Honda and Yamaha. That's the only two places that he can go to. He already been to Ducati. They're not gonna take him back. I don't believe. I mean, you never know. Marquez is with Ducati. So I would have said they would never. All the things that's happened, I would have never thought Ducati would have signed Marquez. But so I can't believe they're gonna take Martin back. So it's only Yamaha and Honda. Where else is he gonna go? And once you burn bridges in MotoGP like that, they're just not gonna sign you.
Well, he could make his own bike with all the money that he's gotten.
Right. And he's hurt himself too. I mean, yeah, he was testing when he first hurt himself, but he had a chance to recover. And he hurt himself again. And now he wants to make this decision where it's just far-fetched. I just, like Shake said, I don't like what he's doing, especially the bridges that he's burned. Like, if you wanna, now I see it. He's definitely chasing the bag because, like, you got your championship. Are you still trying to win, or you trying to, chase the money? Because now, what manufacturer you're going to go to that's better? You're still going to have to be the guy to help improve the team. And Ducati is at top right now, so we only can wait to see what happens in 2027 because that's when everything is going to change. But
right.
And again, where would he be then?
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. We'll find out at the end of the season. No, maybe even before then. Toprak is going to Pramac Yamaha for 2026. One of the rumors that's now true, so that's pretty dope. What do you guys think about Toprak coming into MotoGP? And what do you think?
When you were young, go ahead.
Go ahead, Shay. Go ahead.
When you were a young kid and you did something wrong, and your mom would say, "Go outside and pick your switch from the tree," and you would try your best to pick the switch with the least amount of lacticity, so you wouldn't get the whip. Toprak, go outside, get your switch, bring it into the paddock, bend over, and Marquez is just gonna flog you. That's it. That's it.
Okay.
I'm done.
All right.
Fair point. He's going to flog everybody. But what I was going to say is my initial thought was, he'll go to Honda, and it didn't happen. So I'm like, Yamaha, okay, whatever. I'm not so excited about it. No, disappointed.
Okay.
It just seemed, you know what? I won't say it like it was, but it's just cool to see somebody with that much talent go over to, but it's more talent. But what's going to happen now is going to kind of ruin World Superbike.
How so?
I think Bullet is going to run away with it now.
No, okay. We'll talk about that. Okay. TJ, what are your thoughts about Toprak coming into MotoGP in 2026?
I feel like it's making both series very interesting, and more attention to MotoGP now, which is pretty cool. I always wanted to see Toprak come to MotoGP a couple of years ago, but it's not that easy to transition. Then again, obviously he's not can't say he's not, but I don't see him dominating, but I think it's pretty cool. I think he's very talented. I think it's definitely the right time. If anything lines up correctly, this line fell into place pretty good right before the switch over.
Okay.
Can I ask you?
No, sorry. I was going to say what Smitty was saying. I don't know if that's going to mess up World Superbike. I think he's still going to try to compete and be Toprak because, just it's like saying Mark to slow down. Once you're at that level, that's the only thing you pretty much know. So he knows to win. So
Gotcha. You're gonna say something, Shakes?
Does this gives us the heartbreak that we're not going to see BMW MotoGP next year?
I don't know about that because you never know. We'll find that out. I will say this about Toprak coming. I think that it'll be interesting to see what he does as a rider. What he can do on the Yamaha. Yamaha's testing that V4. Quartararo has been able to get some pole positions. I think, he'll be around some fast guys coming in. He's the first Turkish rider to go to MotoGP, will be. So that's going to be huge. Just a whole bunch of eyes. It's a bunch of eyes that's going to come to MotoGP. So that's huge. You got Chad Anchu and Dennis Anchu. We saw what Dennis Anchu did beating Diego Moreira's in Moto2.
0.003.
like that much of a difference.
0.003.
And that was amazing to see. So I think it's a good look for MotoGP as a whole. I don't think it matters if he wins a race. I don't want to sit here and say he's like some Sam Cat Contra in the sense of being an ambassador, but he's probably going to be more treated as ambassador to sport just to get more, Turkish folks over in that side of the region that follow football and cricket to watch some MotoGP. And hey, maybe they might even be a MotoGP race over there, something like that. So I think from a business standpoint, it's a good look and it makes sense. And then, up until Manuel Gonzalez, I would have said it's probably difficult to make that transition because a lot of riders have, coming from super sport to MotoGP versus coming up in the MotoGP on a MotoGP style chassis. But Gonzalez was able to do that from World 300 Super Sport to Super Sport, and then in the Moto2, and he's dominating Moto2 right now, and he probably has a good shot coming into MotoGP himself. So maybe not every rider can tell the difference between a chassis like that because we've seen a lot of riders struggles, but Toprak might be like Gonzalez and make a good transition and be able to be just as competitive on the Yamaha. I mean, heck, if he's a second and a half his first year or a second within the top guys, that's really good, right? I mean,
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. Now, as far as like World Superbike, if Jack Miller goes to World Superbike, I think it'll be very competitive.
Okay, fair enough.
From what I can gather, maybe Bautista may be taking Toprak's seat in BMW. So who will go into the factory seat? It'll be interesting. Petrucci's been doing really well. Anoni, but Anoni's running into money troubles and stuff like that. And there's a bunch of guys. There's a bunch of guys from Moto2, 600 Super Sport as well that can come up into World Superbike. So I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Bulaga is going to run away with it in 2026. He's also going to be on a new V4 for 2026. So who knows if that bike is going to be dialed in as quickly. But I think I said this on Monday, I think if Miller goes to World Superbike and gets on a Ducati, I think he'll be one of the front runners for the title.
Okay. Fair point.
I finally agree with you.
I know. You know what, Rex? That was a good point, though. Seriously, though,
It took 58 minutes and 24 seconds.
Hey, that's progress. Some people it's taking hundreds of years.
That's why you. Yes, sir.
I'm saying just don't talk bad about Pecco, because then Rex comes out with that 2001 Ravens defense and defends Pecco to the goal line, man.
Look, man, I am a historian of the sport, man. I've seen what has happened over the years and all the comebacks and all these things. And when you think a season is over, something happens, and we're down 3, and we come back and win it all. You have to believe that. Hey, listen, you got to believe that, Shakes. Come on. What's your team over in the UK? You still believing in them, right?
Who, England?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The last time they won was 1965.
But that's still your team, right?
That's still my team.
Okay. See. Case closed. And I'm just really just like I think the guy's got more flack than all these other writers, and I don't it's not fair for him to be the scapegoat. But guys, talk about World Superbike and I know you agree with me as far as Jack Miller, but like he's probably not going to be the only one to lose a seat in MotoGP at the end of this year. It might be tough for Raul Fernandez as well. So you never know. Might be a few guys going over. So besides Jack Miller, you guys don't think any of those other riders can compete with Bulaga in 26?
They ain't doing it now, so I don't know.
Right, they're not doing it now. And what really hurts my heart about Bulaga is how come he hasn't got the nod for MotoGP.
Oh, listen, man! Don't get me started with that. So he got re-signed, and he's also a test rider. So he'll be testing the GP bikes and help develop those bikes along with Perio. So it may be an opportunity to get his way back into MotoGP as well. But that's also kind of Toprak. We'll give you a MotoGP contract. Ducati's like, we'll sign you back next year, and then we'll give you a test rider as well.
You want to know why? If you look at the history of motorsports, and this includes F1 also, you have MotoGP and F1. When guys go to F1, they go from F2 and all those other
F4, F3, F2.
They don't come from other classes. Like they don't come from NASCAR or Indy or those only in that one pipeline. And MotoGP is kind of the same way. It's rare. Hold on, it's the last guy to come from World Superbike
Super Sport,
and go to GP and do well was Ben Spies.
Crutchlow too.
Okay, Crutchlow. That's what 10 years ago.
Yeah, so I mean, I think he was the last. I mean, not American, obviously, but
doesn't happen often at all.
Yeah, and he came from Super Sport. I don't think it was Superbike. It might have been Stock 1000.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen. GP teams don't go to World Superbike teams for riders because it's too many young good guys in Moto 2.
Right, but again, we've seen it with Jake Dixon coming over, and he's in Moto 2. We saw it with Cam Bobier. We saw it with Joe Roberts as well. And I said, Manuel Gonzalez has been the latest and the most successful as far as Moto 2. Jake has won some races too, so I'm not going to take away from Jake Dixon, but Manuel's only had a couple of years in Moto 2, and he looked like he could be going to MotoGP because he might run away with the title this year in Moto 2.
Yeah.
So for some reason, some riders are doing it more now, and so who knows? As a rider on a non-GP chassis, and you might have been thinking about moving to Europe or wherever to see guys that are riding, street bike chassis and then making that transition over. It gives hope to some of these riders and maybe say, hey, I don't have to go to Spain or one of these other countries and ride these bikes. I can stay in the US and ride. And, if I'm talented enough, still, get over and do the right thing. No.
If you want to learn how to play cricket, you got to go to India.
That's a
India? Okay.
Yeah, pretty
or
much.
Pakistan.
Yeah.
Oh, the Caribbean though.
It used to be the West Indies.
It used to be.
And I think like these sports, MotoGP, football, the real football. I know you've been saying it, Ray Lewis a lot, but the real football, where you actually play the ball with your foot, and cricket, those places, the culture's embedded in other countries, so it's just different. And I think the culture will have to shift.
Right.
Will have to shift. But if you're talented, you're talented. It doesn't matter where you're from, right? You could be from you could be from Holbrook in Massachusetts and make it to MotoGP if you have the talent. Right. But the culture is very strong, and it's just
it is and it isn't, Shakes, in this sense that, like, if you look at tennis or you look at basketball, right? Basketball is still big in the US, but then you had all these players going overseas and playing and coaching and teaching And you're talking about in the 80s when this was happening, in the 90s and stuff like that. Now you see all these European players coming over. We saw the same thing with tennis. Everybody going to Florida to play tennis, and then all the Europeans started coming to Florida and playing tennis down here and stuff like that. But now Rafael Nadal got a tennis camp in Spain. So now they've learned all this stuff from wherever it was the best, and then they've brought it back to their country or wherever, and then they have incorporated that and then taken it to the next level. So it's not to say. So I think it's. As you said, it was, at one time was the Caribbean. Everybody came to the Caribbean and learned. Once they learned, they took it wherever they were at, and then they just taught whatever they learned, being in the Caribbean. So I think that, there's going to be a bunch of, Americans that need to go over in Europe and learn what's going on and bring them back over here and start teaching that over here so we can build it back up and not families have to move over. But it's gonna take that. Somebody's gonna have to bring the teachings to the US and start teaching it to the young folks.
Hey,
I agree.
But I think they are, because like Talent Cup and they're on Kramer bikes now. So
I agree.
Right.
And I agree. I think, I think for a young kid to start riding is probably, and have aspirations of getting into MotoGP is the best time is in the US, like to be on a Kramer, is probably the best time for it because this is, in theory, it's supposed to be the best bike to get them there.
right.
So, all right, guys. I think we have one more round before Mogello. So we'll chop it up. Next week, and we'll yes, it'll be Morbidelli, Bezzecchi, and Pecco for me for that track.
Good
but
God, man.
I already know it. They're in Mugello, Italy. Come on, man. It's in their backyard. Come on. What Mark did in Aragon is what their towns are going to do.
You are a homer, man. Seriously,
in MotoGP. I mean, in Mugello. Come on. That's just that's a given.
He's
an
insufferable. He's an insufferable romantic.
He is. He is,
insufferable. Man. Insufferable.
Uh-huh. Well, the world should be like me, Shakes.
Abuse victim, yo.
So listen, man. You want to be around believers.
I love you, Pecco.
That's all I gotta say. I didn't say he was gonna win. I just said he's on the podium.
Let me ask you a question because I know you want to wrap up. But Mugello, who does that track belong to? Will it be Mark or Pecco? Because if Mark wins that track,
Ducati. It belongs to Ducati.
It belongs to Ducati.
So,
but if Mark wins that track, that is the flag that's going to be planted.
It's over.
That's that. You ever see that statue where the American guys are planting that American flag?
Yeah.
If
it's tough because he's on Ducati, so at the end of the day, the Italians win.
Right, but I think Pecco has to ruin that homecoming because that's a Marquez homecoming.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know about.
I know he's Spanish, but that's a Marquez homecoming, and your boy Pecco, he's got to show his ass.
I completely agree. But it's going to be fun if nothing else.
Right. Shits and giggles only good at horse grenades and horseshoes, right? Hand grenades and horseshoes.
Well, we'll see, man. On that note.
Pecco won last year. Pecco won last year.
Phrase up, man.
So there you have it. All right, guys. I want to thank you for coming on, man. Tell people how they can find you.
Smith Shot Racing, Instagram, YouTube. That's it.
Yeah, you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, 2 Wheels and Coffee. The number 2 Wheels with Coffee with a K.
I don't know where you can find me because my location is hidden. But if you keep looking, I will pop up in a bowl of Lucky Charms, mate. Cheers.
Peace.
Peace.